And we are live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Daniel Umstead. For those that don't know, or those that can't read right there, then my name is Daniel Umstead. I'm the host of the RNG radio show that I do Facebook Live here every Monday through Friday, every day at 7 a.m. But today, I decided to set up a lunch and learn with the Elizabeth Guthridge, and we wanted to talk to you today about the do's and don'ts when it comes to debt collectors. You know how you get those calls, you trying to figure it out, and they say, this call will now be recorded. And then they go into it and you be like, hold on 1 second. I don't even know who you is. Well, listen, we're going to break down some facts, some myth busters today, and let you know. We ain't going to take too much of your time, so pull out that sandwich, that pasta salad from leftover from the Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully it was frozen, so you got stomach pains later. But Elizabeth, introduce yourself and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Danielle. I am so honored to be here. Thank you so much. I just love getting the word out, and it's really important that we know our rights. And you know what? This topic may not be that difficult to understand, but the fact is, we just need to be exposed to what our rights are. And so I'm just going to go over today just a couple things that debt collectors can and cannot do. So my name again is Elizabeth Guthridge. I'm from EAG Credit Solutions, and we help people, men and women with less than perfect credit, realize their financial dreams. So having said that, the first thing that you should know that debt collectors cannot come to your workplace. I know that used to be a thing of the past. People used to show up and they can't do that anymore. So please understand, they may threaten you on the phone. They may say that they're coming, but know that it's against the law. And there's things that you can do if they break the law. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So that's number one. They can no longer come to your job. Two, they cannot harass you. They can talk about you owe the debt. They can say it is yours. They can say that the amount is yours. No matter what they say, it does not, and it's supposed to not amount to harassment. Some things may be repeat calls, threats of violence. And believe it or not, there are some really, really foul-mouthed debt collectors out there. So they're not supposed to publish information about you. They can say,
real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off real quick. With the repeated calls, so you telling me that, let's say I get a call on Monday and then I get a call on Friday. Is that considered a repeated call, or is it like something like a back-to-back in the same?
I'm talking about like robocalls. I mean, they call you. They start off, calling you 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:15, 9:30, 9:45. That's harassment.
Okay.
That's downright harassment. They have a right, and we'll talk about what they have a right to do in a minute or two, but they have a right to contact you, and you set those ground rules. However, they are not allowed to call you. And if they do put you on the robocalls, that's easy enough. Just say, I do not choose to be called by a robocall. So you can say that to them. Again, I talked about the abusive language, and they're some of them are pretty rough. The language is rough, and they try to threaten you, try to scare you. That's not, they're not supposed to do that. So also, they are not allowed to tell you that you're going to be arrested for your debt. Now, that may have happened years ago. You will not be arrested. That must have been before my time, but surely they cannot threaten and say, well, you owe this debt. If you don't pay this, then we're going to arrest you. Now, they may have a right to take you to court, but they do not have a right to threaten that they're going to arrest you for your debt. I know that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
So one thing, that's why it's really good to know what your credit score is, and it's really good to know what debt you owe, because debt collectors cannot come after you for debt that is not yours. If it's your brother, I don't care if he lives in your house. I don't care if that's your dependent. It is not your debt, and it's not legal for them to come after you for a debt that is not yours. Well, they live with you and they passed away, so it's your no, it is not your debt. So don't allow a debt collector to say, well, he had you on the list, so obviously you're the next one. The mob may have did that. Well, sorry, buddy.
We're talking about a whole different thing. I'm trying to keep on my thumbs and fingers now.
Right, that's a whole other subject. But again, and believe it or not, some of these laws were put in place because some of those unscrupulous practices back in the day, years ago. So that's not too far-fetched. So again, your debt is your debt and your debt only, and you're only responsible for a debt unless you sign a dotted line saying, I am responsible for this debt.
Okay, that's kind of like with that co-signer coming to play. So if my brother was a co-signer and God forbid something happens to me, my brother would not be responsible for that, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Same things, husband and wife, and you sign, that they can't find the other party. Guess who's going to be stuck with the bag? The bottom line is, yes, you co-sign, you're both equally responsible. So, and one of the biggest things that I like to communicate to my clients is that they cannot call you.
Oh, Elizabeth, I think we lost you. Elizabeth, we lost you. So, ladies and gentlemen, while Elizabeth is getting together, I just want to make it clear when it comes to your debt is tied to your social. So your debt is tied to your identity. So when it comes down to where the brother, sibling, what have you, when these collection agencies do give you a call and say, hey, well, this debt is now yours. No, because whatever's attached to you, your personal identity, then yes, you are responsible for that. That is honestly a form of identity fraud. When you actually take on somebody's debt, that is not yours, because you're pretty much paying off somebody's debt and you're helping somebody else's credit score, whether they're living in the present or not. So you need to actually look at it like, hey, this might not be your burden. This might not be a situation. So be sure. And that's why it's important that you need to check your credit report, because these collection agencies might say, well, hey, this is on your debt now, or this is responsible for you because it's attached to the household. And that is not the situation at all. If it's not shown on your credit report by any of the three credit reviewers, then it is not your responsibility. Elizabeth, we got you back?
Yes. Yes.
All right, now go ahead, girl.
Okay. All right. So there's some things that they can do. So they can seek payment on expired debt. Okay. So what that means is just because it rolled off of your credit report doesn't mean that they won't still come get you.
Wait. But Elizabeth, here's my confusion. If a collection agency reaches out to me because, and this happened to me with Verizon, I'll just be honest. Verizon reached out to me and said, hey, you still owe on this bill. I didn't pay it yet. And then the collection agency called me and reached out and said, hey, you still on this bill? And I'm like, well, I had actually already paid it off, but I only paid off a portion of it. So you're telling me that the amount that I still owe a collection agency can still come back to me? How is that? Or why is it?
They can, because the that's another thing that I want to say, that the companies can sell your debt. And when they sell your debt, they sell it for pennies on a dollar. Gotcha. So if someone only purchased your $1,000 debt for $5, if he get $10 from you, then he's good. So it is still debt, and it's still, they can still come after you.
Even though that the company said it was a tax write-off, that they said don't even worry about it no more.
That is how it is as far as it being on your credit report.
Gotcha.
That doesn't mean that they won't come after you in certain situations. It doesn't mean that they won't. So I'm just saying they can.
Okay.
Most times they just don't bother, but they can, because that is it's based on the statutes of limitations. So and credit cards, student loans, they all have a statute of limitations. And once that statute of limitation is passed, now you're good.
Okay. Is there a statute of limitations on student loans, or do I got to wait 90 years?
I think you have to wait 90 years.
Okay, I figured it as much. I figured.
Yeah,
I was
you
trying to get
definitely might have to wait. That's a whole nother topic. That's a good topic. Okay, so here are some other things real quick that they can do. They can pressure you. They don't have to harass you, but they can pressure you, and they can say, if you don't pay this, we will go to court. And they're not allowed to threaten to go to court and not do it. If they are going to court, then they are allowed to go to court. So they can definitely pressure you, saying, if you don't do this, we could put a lien against your property. So that is true. So just as in my business, we can take a lot of that stuff off because they make mistakes. But it's just as important you to understand that what they can do, not just what we can do to remove it, but what they can do. And they can definitely pressure you by pursuing a lawsuit. And sometimes that happens, but there's remedies. And we talked about the fourth way that they can sell your debt. They sell it for, and yes, they do get a credit, a tax write-off. That's true. But if it's under the statute of limitations, okay, now we have some conversations that should go on. Okay.
Lost you again. I lost you again. Hey, so folks, while Elizabeth gets back on, please understand that when we say as far as your debt being sold off, so look at my situation with the Verizon bill. You know, I got $100 that I need to pay on it, you know, and I haven't done it yet. And now Verizon's like, it's just $100. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do it as a tax write-off, say it didn't exist, and then pass it off to a collection agency and let them handle it. So let's say ABC Venture Collection Agency comes along and says, hey, Verizon, we will buy that debt off of you. So Verizon made their money. They still made their money, because think about it, folks. You know how we pressure or we tell people, hey, you should start a business, because usually one of the benefits with the business is tax write-offs. Right. So going out purchasing things for your company, for your business, even though it is considered a debt at the end of the tax year, they're like, well, it was a tax write-off because it was for your business. The same thing goes for Verizon. Well, it was a tax write-off because it was never paid for, and it was pretty much given away. So now the collection agency, how they come in and say, hey, that $100, listen, man, this is why they always say, hey, we can make a deal right now for $50, but you got to pay today, and you got to do it right now. Right. And that's how they get their money at the end of the day.
That is.
Elizabeth, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you just finished it up for me. But that's exactly how they get their money. Just understand what your rights are. And the Fair Credit Reporting Act is just a huge document, but it is one of the only documents that's out there to protect us consumers. So there are ways to get those things off of your credit, but do not confuse what the credit agencies can and cannot do. Okay. So,
I got you frozen a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, but I can hear you though.
Okay. So what I like to summarize to say is, if you are unsure about
oh no. No worries, Elizabeth. So when Elizabeth gets back on, I definitely want to get the contact information. Folks, you got to understand something. With everybody being home, with the majority of us pretty much utilizing the bandwidth that they currently have, there is this thing called computer usage, or bandwidth usage, I should say. So if somebody in the area, you know, isn't used to being home, maybe, and Elizabeth's been doing very well and very successful with her credit repair solutions company, but because Jimmy's next door doing homework with his little one, because the two people across the street needed to watch their soap operas and catch up on them today. In addition, you got every other house on the block utilizing for either video games. Even my son today was like, hey, Dad, I did all my homework. Can I get on the game? No, you cannot. You better treat it like it's school, boy, because 2:30 is when and only when you get on the games. Trying to think that you can get done work early so you go play. No, that's not how it happens. So,
right.
Go ahead, Elizabeth. Yes.
Okay. So, but that's true. It's very, very frustrating. Sometimes there's no issues, and midday is really kind of tough for me. But anyway, I like to end by telling people that you don't have to speak to them. they have your information. And sometime when they call you and say, can you verify this and verify that? Be very careful. And I always say, well, if you have my information, you should have my information. So I tell you what, I do not choose to be recorded because it's true. Everything you say will be held against you. And what you're in essence, what you're doing is saying that, yep, this debt is mine. So not to be very careful. Tell them you don't want to be recorded and just hang up. Or most likely, when I tell them I don't want to be recorded, they hang up on me. So that means they only want to use that conversation as leverage. And if that is the case, hang up and say, I don't want to be recorded. And you have my information, contact me by writing. And that's a good time to say, you may not put my number in a robocall, and you may not call me before a certain time or after a certain time. If you have my information and you are who you say you are, just put it in writing.
That's good. That is very, very good to know. So, folks, I want to be clear about this because I know there was some connection issues. When they call you, the debt collection agency calls you, and for that matter, anybody who's calling you and saying, yes, good day, this line will be recorded, stop it right then and there, folks, because even though they might be using it for quality assurance is simply this. Hey, this is what we did wrong, this, and this, and call it a day. But at the end of the day, what Elizabeth is saying is that they're using this so that way when it comes time for court or when it comes time for them to actually pressure you to get you to pay that debt, they're using that recorded call against you, and it's not going to be in your best interest. So if you have $1,000 balance and you say on the call, yeah, I know I got to pay that $1,000 balance, there's no negotiation there. So simply put, yes, please take me off. I do not want this call recorded. If you have my information, please mail me the info and leave it at that, folks. All right. Now, Elizabeth, before we lose you, because we don't want to lose you, and I know your phone's working, how can somebody get in contact with you if they need further info about this or got some questions that I can't answer?
Sure. They can call me or text me at 717 715 3979.
Now, somebody just pinged me and said they ain't got their pen and paper ready. Can you give that again for me one more time?
717 715 3979.
Perfect. All right, folks. And later on, this will be uploaded to YouTube. So I will definitely make sure Elizabeth's information is on there as well as my own. But definitely. And Elizabeth, wrap it up with us as far as what can people get done now? Like, all right, I know I got to get my credit repair done. I know I got to get focused on this. What should I be doing right now today to get started to take care of this debt that I do have?
Well, they can call me for free 15-minute consultation. They can go on Facebook under EAG Credit Solutions, and we can talk about your situation. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. Our services, we start off with the dispute letters. Some people have bad credit because they have no credit. Then we'll teach you about financial literacy. Not only will we teach you, we will show you how to build credit. So there's plenty to do. The first things first, contact me, EAG Credit Solutions, or you can text me at 717-715-3979 for a 15-minute consultation. So if you mentioned that you saw this live, I will give you a discount if you start with our services. However, first things first, guys, I always like to say, and I'll end it like.
Oh, we lost you again, Elizabeth. Lost you again. All right, while she's getting back on, folks, listen, the consultations are free. So there is no cost to getting on the phone with Elizabeth. She's merely taking 15 minutes out of her day to speak with you in regards to getting your credit back to where it needs to be at. And we're looking at two different scales here, folks. It is not so much that you might have a 500, 400, or maybe a 300 credit score and you need that services. You might have a 680 credit score, but yet you're trying to figure out like, well, how can I get up to that 850? Please, by all means, use the contact information that Elizabeth has provided, or go on her Facebook page and message her directly through EAG Credit Solutions to check her out. And that is E as Elizabeth, A as an apple, and G as in Guthridge. It ain't that hard, folks. EAG
Credit Solutions. Thank you. Thank
Definitely,
you.
definitely. So, well, listen, everybody, finish wrapping up that lunch. I know you got to get back to work. I got to do the same thing here. Even though I am in the same boat with the credit repair, I ain't at that level where Elizabeth is at. So until I get rid of this W-2 job, folks, have a great one and enjoy. Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking out time out of your day to come and talk with me. And everybody else, stay blessed and be safe out there.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.